Before I get into this next chapter, I just want to say a few things about this book real quick. I personally don't know Sundown. Never met him, never really heard too much about the guy other than what I've been told by my boy Flacco. But I'm just going to say this. I had to take a step back and ask myself how I'd feel if I heard someone else reading my book on YouTube, and it made me look at it in a whole different way. And that's just if they were reading it. I probably wouldn't like it, especially if they were making comments about the content or some of the things that I felt like I wanted to elaborate on. The other day, Sundown just so happened to be with Flacco when we were texting. I think this is when they were doing their interviews with him. I seen that some of the chat viewers were asking Rojo to ask him how he felt about me reading his book. Over and over, they kept asking Rojo that same question, but my boy avoided the question, which I appreciated, because that just wasn't the place for it. So I asked Flacco to ask Sundown this question myself, because I told Flacco if he don't like it, I'll give him that respect and just stop reading it, because I had never gotten his permission in the first place. I had to give him that respect, especially knowing how I'd feel since I have my own book. Sundown said he didn't mind, but he just appreciated if all the negative comments stopped, which I can understand. He also said he would feel better if I read the introduction, as that's a very important part of the book to him, and it kind of lays the groundwork for the rest of the story. I told Flacco to tell him I'll give him that respect. I'll read the intro and I'll personally refrain from making any more side comments. So I have to give this brother that respect. It's only right. It's definitely a different kind of story than I'm used to reading, but it's his, so I'm gonna respect it. He could have said to just stop reading it altogether, so I just wanted to clarify my position on this. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Who knows, maybe it'll make sense in the long run, but at any rate, it's this man's personal story. It's his bio, it's his life, and it's a story he told in his own way. So with that said, I'm going to read the intro before I move on to the next chapter. Introduction. When telling any story, the beginning is always the best place to start. From the trial of Sundown. I am Sundown. This is my story. Let me tell it. When you tell it, you can be the hero. You can even say that you look like me, tall, dark, and handsome. Hollywood's dream of the ideal gangster leading man. When you tell it, you can even say that you too danced upon the volcano's edge, laughing at the pain, shouting at the madness, and singing into the darkness like the madmen that we were, and still are. Once upon a time, here in America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and of bloody opportunities they never taught us about in school, and of bloody men like me who were baptized in blood and fed from the tables of bloody men, taught in the knowledge and ways of tried and proven warriors who had been to hell and back again. Home of murderers and thieves who dared to believe that we could become something and somebody, not just inside the California prison walls, but even reaching out into the very streets and society from which we had been sentenced to be forgotten by the rest of the world. But we were men who refused to be forgotten, and with the blood of our enemies, we would carve our names on the pages of criminal history. We would create and establish our own family, La Nuestra Familia, which in English means our family, a family made up of carnales, brothers, men of common chains, enemies in cause, bloody desperados, with nothing left to lose but our lives. Lives that, without something to still believe in, held little or no value or sense of self-worth to us. We believed that even from the depths of the darkest corners of our prison hell, we could have everything to gain if only we were willing to spill enough blood toward achieving it. First, we had to take control of the prisons from the Mexican Mafia and the Aryan Brotherhood, or anyone else that stood in our way, then take control of the streets. We would recruit prisoners and men such as we were, and so like the ancient Aztec warriors of our common ancestry, we sacrificed the blood of our enemies, and if necessary, even the blood of our brothers, to that ancient left-handed god of war Huitzilopochtli. And with the warrior sense of courage and pride, we embraced our bloody heritage. We were, all of us, Pancho Villas, Joaquin Merieras, with a dash of Michael Corleone of the movie The Godfather. Poet warriors and butcherous men, knights in slightly tarnished armor. At least we believed we were, and we butchered as if we were. While this story is about me, it must also be about this bloody prison gang and criminal organization known as La Nuestra Familia, or NF for short. It has to be, because inside this thing called me, I will always be La Nuestra Familia. I cannot bring back the dead or undo all the things that have happened inside me because of La Nuestra Familia, which have forever helped to shape and form me into this man that I am now still today. The man who, but for the grace of God, would forever be a monster and a madman because of all the bloody costs that I have paid and all the ghosts that still haunt my knife-wounded and bullet-riddled heart, soul, and spirit. With regret for all the innocents who got caught up and killed or destroyed in this forever war of love and rage, which we agreed to fight for and defend. It has been said that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Speak for myself and for most of the men, brothers, carnales, who all stood together in this bloody quest with me for our goals. We were sincere in our dedications and our commitments. We were searching for some kind of redemption, respect and honor, and even life. For in the beginning, we understood and accepted that some of us would not make it to that age of honorable retirement written in our Constitution, and that many of us would never be free from prison and might die behind the cold cement walls from which we were born. But we believe that at least in providing for this family, our family, La Nuestra Familia, we could still have worth as men and as warriors of honor in the defending and spilling of blood. For it and having to had sometimes kill our closest friend or brother because of allegiance we had vowed to our Constitution of laws and demands. And because when telling any story, the beginning is always the best place to start. Then, in the beginning of La Nuestra Familia, remember that we were heroes to anyone and everyone inside the California prison system who were afraid of or tired of being ordered around and taken from by the Mexican Mafia and the Aryan Brotherhood and various other prison cliques. We were heroes like knights in shining armor, riding to enemy territory and killing any and every enemy, oppressor, and persecutor of the prison masses. We took no shit from anybody, inmate, staff, or civilian. A death on sight rule of engagement policy was what we employed when it came to any of our enemies whose names appeared on our hit list. Even those of our own brothers who had broken their vows to the Constitution and our family, seriously enough to warrant the death on sight status that we had employed against our main enemies, the Mexican Mafia, or MF for short, or the Aryan Brotherhood, or AB for short. In the beginning, whenever any member of La Nuestra Familia drove up to any prison yard where there were any active Mexican Mafia or Aryan Brotherhood members, the prisoners would come to us and would point them out to us. They would give us weapons or weapon stock from which any Familiano had been taught how to fashion the tools of death and destruction. Then they would just be sure to stay out of the way because a Familiano of the Nuestra Familia was on the yard now. He would be taking care of some business real soon and removing the hated and feared Mexican Mafia or Aryan Brotherhood member or shot caller at first sight, even underneath the gun towers if need be. There was going to be some shooting going on today from the gun towers. The Real Gladiator show was on as brought to you by the good folks of the Department of Corrections, who ignorantly and deliberately put known enemies on each other's yards to ensure that the continuance of any real unity between prisoners, especially the Mexican American prisoners, would be impossible because of all the lives and blood that had been lost and shed on all sides. But remember, in the beginning we were heroes. We pressured no one, we took from no one. We were merely fighting for and defending our own rights under the United States Constitution, which guarantees to all its citizens, whether imprisoned or free, the right to pursue our rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sometimes we were even concrete Robin Hoods, taking from the richer and giving to the poor. And sometimes we had no idea what the hell we were doing. This newfound power was all new to us, but we learned and we grew both inside California prison walls and in the streets of the cities throughout the state of California. And courtesy of the federal racketeering laws, we had spread across the United States in the same way in which we began, drawing recruits from fellow prisoners to family members and criminal elements on the streets of California and America, to the point that there now exist two separate factions of the one original La Nuestra Familia, as will be revealed in this story. But I'm getting way ahead of myself in this story, because the real beginning of my story begins with me. And so, because of any potential future criminal prosecutions that could occur against myself, because of there being no statute of limitations for some of the crimes such as murder, kidnapping, etc., and because of federal racketeering laws, i.e. RICO, and also to protect the innocent as well as the guilty, including myself, I must now change some names, except for some names that are already a matter of public record, or names that I wish to give honor to for their sincerity and loyalty. And now I write this book as if it were just a story, a fiction that was reality. Also, if questioned by any law agencies or prosecutors with respect to anything revealed in this book, let it be known that I will swear in court that none of this is true, and there is no such thing as La Nuestra Familia, and I will stand upon my Fifth Amendment rights as guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America. Those who know the truth and those who matter and who are there, they know the truth of my story. This story had to be told, and I was the one chosen by those who matter to write it, just as we once had a song written, recorded, and released throughout California, called in English The Ballad of La Nuestra Familia. So too has this book been encouraged and approved by those who matter to me. Of what importance is my death if there is no importance in my life? But if in my death or my life I defend the hopes and faith of my people, this is all that matters to me. And with this, I say it all. Love and Rage, Sundown. That's the introduction.